Welcome back to the Only One Thing podcast. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm John. Today we have a very special guest, my good friend Joe Delagrave, who's going to share his deeply personal story about losing the identity he thought he had, but how God rewrote that story.
Yeah, and wherever you're listening from, thanks for being a part of the conversation. Everything is pointing back to Jesus today.
That's right. So lean in, open your heart, and let's get into it. This is Only One Thing podcast.
Welcome, Joe. We're so glad that you're here with us on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Excited for the conversation. Excited to dive in. Appreciate what you guys are doing with this.
Absolutely. I got to talk to Joe for the first time yesterday on the phone. It was great talking to you, and I'm super excited for hearing your story. And so that just for our listeners, just tell us who you are, tell us your story, and just a little bit about you.
Yeah. I'm a husband to April. We've been married 17 years and have three kids. Braxton, Braden, and Brinley that are 13, 11, and 9 right now, and just in the thick of raising kids. I coach Team USA for wheelchair rugby, and so wheelchair rugby's been a big part of my life. We'll get into that, and I'm a speaker as well.
Joe and I knew each other in like early teenage years. We went to a church together, and we even sang in competitions. At like they called like districts and nationals, I think is what they would kind of call it. And it was like a fine arts type competition.
So can I just say, so like, because you've done a lot of athletic things, Joe, you don't usually see a lot of athletes kind of cross over in music in both. Or is that a thing? Or is that a thing?
Well, yeah, I think here's the deal. It's Zac Efron stole my gimmick on, with
with High School Musical.
Yeah. But no, I loved theater. I played a little bit of guitar and taught myself at the end of high school, which, couldn't play after my accident. But I loved being on stage. Whether that's Pirate number 8 in the Pirate of Penzance, which is like that kind of role. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. But no, like I loved being a part of theater. It was honestly, I think, whether that's choir, whether it's band, whether that's in theater, it's a great team environment. It's very similar to sports.
Yeah.
Even though it's like kind of its own West Side Story in high schools. I'm like, are you a jock or are you a theater nerd? And like they don't overlap very often. But anyway. Yeah.
That's so great.
Oh, that's good. So it was interesting because I think, Joe, you're probably like my sister Lisa's age, which is like maybe a couple years younger than me, right? And so we grew up did you do Bible quizzing and things like that as well?
I tried.
Yeah.
I wasn't very good at it.
Same.
I blame it on my public school education versus the homeschoolers, but
I went mostly to meet girls. Yeah. This is way off topic.
No, exactly.
I feel like the absolute nerd in the room right now because like I studied Bible and did not do sports, and so
it's all good.
That's all right. That's okay.
But there was a point where Joe went off to college. I moved to Cedar Rapids, and something happened. And I'll be honest with you, Joe, I've not gone there with you about this yet, but I wasn't in Northeast Iowa, Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin area when your accident happened. And so I wasn't there, and I wasn't necessarily even available as a friend at that point in your life, but I heard through friends your story and what happened and the devastation. But there's a big gap that happened between what happened there and where you're at today. And I think if you're willing to go into a brief part of your story, but really the meat that we want to get into is God has rewritten that story, and you've just really come on board with that new phase of life. So,
yeah, it's kind of to set up a little contextually for you. I'm 19 years old. Just finished up my freshman year of college. Was always a dream of mine to play a college sport. Ended up playing Division II football for Winona State University in Winona, Minnesota, and so finished up that freshman year. And really, in that freshman year, was really tunnel vision on I'm a football player. Like that is my identity. That's all I really cared about. Um, didn't get connected with a church in that freshman year. It was just like football is kind of the thing. And got to, and it had a successful year, played as a true freshman, which means like I just didn't sit out a year like you normally would. You get to play and travel with the team and whatnot. I was a third string tight end that played on special teams and a little bit and mop up duty type of situation. So like wasn't a starter, but in between my freshman and sophomore year was like I'm working my butt off, training all of it, and want to get a starting position on the team in the fall. And so I went back home to Prairie du Chien, did the whole like I'm working the summer college thing and whatnot. And my two best friends from high school came back to Prairie during that summer as well. Kyle and Adam. Kyle had went to Marquette for school, and Adam had went to St. Cloud State in Minnesota for school. It's like we all came back and we're getting jobs and whatnot. And I had it was such a fantastic summer. Like at 19 years old,
Mhm.
really no responsibility at all. I worked as an assistant for the Parks and Rec director, which means I just drove a truck around, um, checking the river level, dumping some chlorine in the pool, calling it a day. Got in trouble a couple times for going through the drive-through a few too many times with the city truck, which, football players got eat. So like, I'm like, I just gotta be a little bit more secretive about it. But, and so, and then and Kyle, it was so fun. Kyle got like the landscaping maintenance job where basically they just carried a weed whacker around for like 8 hours. So I drive around, make fun of him too. And I was like, dude, you have the wrong job. This job's so great. Um, and then on the weekends, we just go out on the river, and Prairie is really in a beautiful
Hmm.
part of the country that you take for granted growing up. I mean, it's incredibly
Mm.
beautiful on the Wisconsin side and the Iowa side, where you're from, John.
Yep.
And the Wisconsin River meets the Mississippi River. There's beautiful bluffs. It's incredible in the fall.
Yeah.
A lot of fishing, hunting, that type of thing. We just jump on the river in Kyle's grandpa's hand-me-down boat that was like 14 feet long and a 35 horsepower motorboat. And I mean, it was to us it's like we're on a yacht, like we're 19, like yeah, we have freedom to just cruise the river. And I mean, it was nothing special, but we'd kneeboard, we'd fish, do that thing. And July 10th, 2004 was out on a Saturday with Kyle and Adam and hanging out, and we're cruising around and kneeboarding, and usually we go in like a back slough of the Mississippi, which is off the main channel, and you never know how deep or shallow that water is, which we knew. Like we're always relatively safe on the water, in context of being teenagers and doing dumb stuff here and there, but like relatively safe on the water. And we're all lifeguards growing up, so knew how to be safe. And that day, Kyle ended up hitting the bottom of the river. I was sitting on the boat, watching if Adam fell off the kneeboard or not, so we could turn around and get him. He hits the bottom of the river, fly backwards in the chair, and hit my head on the front of the boat, inside the boat, and which instantly breaks my neck at the C6 and 7 level, which is 6 and 7 vertebrae down from the base of your skull. And so in a split second, went from the 6'6" football player to I don't know what's happening with my body right now. And I really didn't understand the gravity of the situation, didn't understand what was exactly happening in those moments. But when I woke up from like a minute blackout, Kyle and Adam are looking down at me, and I'm in excruciating pain from my head injury, and that had an open wound on my skull, and just crying for help, like please take the pain away. I don't know what's happening, but like this, I have such bad pain in my head, guys. Like, please help me, please help me. Do you have anything that will help me? And they're just like looking down on me, tears rolling down their face, um, and and I remember them asking me two questions that just like absolutely opened my mind to what was happening. And the first one was like, Joe, can you move your leg? And you send the signal from your brain down through your spinal cord, and like we always do when like I'm moving my hands right now and not thinking about doing that, you just do it. And so did that, and nothing happens. Leg doesn't move, and I'm like, there's something wrong, and my legs aren't moving. And they're like, can you feel your leg? And reached down and felt my leg, and it's like the most out of body experience I've ever had, where like I felt like I was touching someone else's leg. Um, and
Wow.
and by then, the rescue boat comes. They had called 911. Rescue boat comes and gets me from the boat to the rescue boat to the ambulance to the hospital, where Adam's mom had worked there as a nurse for 42 years, and met us, and got to our family doctor, and kind of told me what was happening, and needed to be med flighted to a bigger hospital in La Crosse, where they said, hey, you got a spinal cord injury, you're going to have surgery. So that's what happened that day. And obviously a lot unpacks from there.
Gosh, man, that's heavy. And you mentioned how your identity was wrapped up in being a football player, and so here you are, you know, processing. Are you, you know, let alone play football? Are you even going to walk again? Um, and I know for me, I've been a singer my whole life. I've been a songwriter. I use my hands to play piano and guitar. And there's been these moments in my life where things are going really great, and then things don't go great. And I feel myself start to kind of spiral a little bit because I've recognized that my identity is wrapped up in what I do, not probably where it should be in the Lord. But I can't imagine um, being in a situation where you just can't even do it and you have to kind of pivot. And so how did you handle that? What did that look like?
Yeah, yeah. So in the hospital, first couple days blurry, obviously, and whatnot, but I think it's like day two, day three, where the doctors come into the room. My mom's in there, and family and whatnot. And but in this specific time, it's just me, my mom, my stepdad, um, and doctors are in the room, and they're kind of like, here's a diagnosis.
Mm,
Um, so they come in, and at that time, you already at 19, you have questions about life. Like you're just,
sure.
and I'm introspective in nature, so what kind of job am I going to be doing? And even though like my identity is stuck in football on like who I am, um, you still have questions about life. And when that happens, the questions become magnified, right? And doctors are like, hey, listen, spinal cord injury, your spinal cord isn't severed, but it's bent enough to where the damage has been done, and we feel like you're not going to walk again.
Mm,
And at 19, you're just like, there's no way, like that's not a thing, like that, like
right.
I'm a big rough tough foot, but there's no way I'm not going to walk again. Um, and I can put in the work ethic, and I can do this, and there's like that was my mindset, in almost like a naive setting, but also like no, like this is gonna happen, and so I didn't want to believe them.
Mm.
um
Like it's gonna
and
be hard, but you're gonna figure this out, and I'm gonna work hard and walk again, right?
exactly, I think it's
Yeah.
just it's like the human nature, and almost kind of the narcissistic nature of humans sometimes, where we're like, we can control this, we can do
Hmm.
this, we
Yeah.
can, like, and really, I think, more poignant than ever is the idea, like our society says, like, you're enough, and you're gonna make it, and you can do it, and just put the work in, and you're good. And like, as Christians, like, we've got to cling to, and come back
Mhm.
to all the time. I'm like, we're not enough without the love of Christ. We're
Yeah.
not enough without the relationship with Jesus. Um, and I think where people get stuck is like in society, it's like, no, like just work as hard as you can, you're gonna make it. And like that's not a bad thing. But at the same time, we're understanding that we are in need of a savior. Um, and I think through that time in the hospital, there was a change of my heart and understanding of not that I was laying in bed and paralyzed, and it's kind of like something bad happened. Now I need you, Lord. It happened before the accident, and it's just um, this beautiful thing where a week before my accident, um, God gave me this Bible verse, and a crazy story. Only. It's not a coincidence. Only God can do, for sure. But so like freshman year of football, forget my undershirt for my pads. And if you played football before, like you want to have an undershirt, otherwise you're chafing with the shoulder pads, and it's super uncomfortable and whatnot. And so I'm like, hey, anyone got? I'm a freshman. Anyone got like an extra shirt, that type of thing? And our kicker, who was a senior at the time's like, here, I got a shirt for you, dude. And he's like making fun of me giving me the shirt because it said House of Speed on it. It's a the House of Speed shirt, which Don Beebe was like a Buffalo Bill when they lost all those Super Bowls in the 90s, went to the Packers. One of the camp instructors was like, hey, you got that Bible verse on your shirt. What's that? And I was like, I didn't know there's a Bible verse on this shirt, dude. Like, I didn't even know. And he's like, oh, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Do you know what that says? And I'm like, no, I don't. I wasn't really good at the Bible quizzing thing. And then in middle school and high school. So like, let me, and so he quotes it right away, right? And he's just rambling it off like you do, and trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your understanding, and all your ways acknowledge him. He'll direct your paths. I was like, wow, like, that's really good. And so I went home during that week and opened my Bible for the first time in probably months and read that over. And when it happened and when I kind of came to and the doctors had diagnosed, I asked my sister Ellie, I'm like, can you like draw this Bible verse on a poster and throw it on my wall? And she did, and so every day I'd look at that, and every day I'd be pissed off about that verse. Like,
Hmm.
how am I supposed to trust you when I'm laying in this bed? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I keep it real. I try to be as honest as possible. Like, I'm mad. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
am angry about my situation. And Jonathan, to answer your question, this long-winded form, there's people every day I have people in my room speaking life into me, whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's coaches from high school and teammates from high school, or coaches from college and teammates from college, every single day speaking life, and every single day looking at that verse going
Hmm.
like, trust the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your understanding. Like, God, I want to understand. Like, I need to understand what this looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to sit in this chair. I have no idea what this chair looks like. And every day I'd wake up, after a night of praying and like, can I wiggle a toe? Can I move my leg? And no. And then I'd see this wheelchair by my bed, and I just despise the thing. I don't have very many pictures from the hospital. I didn't want to take pictures in my chair. I didn't
Yeah.
want to take pictures in the hospital room. And so there was this wrestling and grappling from the get-go, but God was present um, through it all.
Yeah. Gosh. So, I mean, you kind of alluded to there just being a wrestling with God. You're 19 years old. You kind of started your journey. Would you have considered yourself a Christian by that point, like a follower of Christ?
I think, yeah. So like I baptized when I'm 7 and gave my life to Christ early on, but I think it was like through high school and through college, that first year, just trying to figure out myself, find myself, so to speak, like you
Mm-hmm.
do, and going like, is this faith mine or my parents'?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
just remember in that hospital room really like deciding like I can't do
Yeah.
this without you, Lord. And that honestly, like that happened a month into my hospital stay,
Wow.
um, where another guy from our youth group, which we didn't know well, but Josh Kleppe, who August 10th, 2004, was at the Iowa State Fair and driving home, had an accident, got thrown from the vehicle, broke his neck, and died.
Oh.
And it was tragic. And
Mm-hmm.
and and remember him being a big believer a bold believer, talking to people about, Jesus in his heart, and if he should pass away type of thing, like like where are you gonna go? That and like
Yeah.
and he was 16. And I remember hearing that news and going like, well, my life's spared. Like there is
Yeah.
purpose in my life, and it was a wake up call for me within that, and owe a lot to his circumstance and what happened to the changing and stirring of my heart, going like, I can't do this without you, God. There's no
Yeah.
way possible, because I'm not getting any better. I'm figuring out how to get up in the morning and how to use a wheelchair and that type of thing. But it was a really big turning point for me to go like, okay, like like you got to
Yeah.
respond to the situation. You
Hmm.
can't just live in this depression, and hope um, for something to happen. I think there's, prayer. I believe in healing, all of that, but like at the same time, life's going to move on with or without you. And I think it's really
Yeah.
important to go like, okay, like I need to place my faith in what's going to happen here, and start working towards figuring out this thing in a wheelchair. And if healing should come, great. If it
Yeah.
doesn't, that's okay.
Yeah. So I'm a pastor, and I hear a lot of people's stories. And what I find beautiful about your story, and there's a lot of really hard, a lot of tragedy, um, but there's beauty in it, obviously, and God has rebuilt your story. But usually, especially at that age, when you talk to people later in life and they're either agnostic or atheist, it can come back to something like, when I needed God most, um, he wasn't there, so therefore he must not exist.
Hmm.
And so it pushed them the opposite direction. But with you, I think it's fascinating that it actually drew you closer to him, and you made a decision there in the hospital room to say, "Hey, I'm going to choose to lean in." How did you anchor yourself in that? How the doubts, the
That's a good
worries, the
question.
fears, how did you stay anchored? You mentioned you had good friends, but what helped you navigate that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's this point. So like when I'm reading all this, and this is like in the hospital when I was there 89 straight days, and when I got out, and I'm still wrestling with the same stuff, still wrestling like with my masculinity, like what does that look like in a wheelchair? Still wrestling with my identity, like
Mm,
who am I without sports, and wrestling with all of that, and just the day to day. Like we're talking, well, one of my first goals was like, all right, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna try to do all this independently and get dressed independently. Um, and it took me like 4 hours to get like socks, some sweatpants on, and a sweatshirt type of a situation. But as I'm going about this, I'm also going like, let me read about what healing looks like. Let me read those passages. Let me read what Scripture says about this. And I think when you get to the point on um, healing doesn't always happen this side of heaven,
Hmm.
which is a tough pill to swallow
yeah.
at times. Like, but what does happen is the transformation spiritually, with the transformation of your heart,
Man, that's
the
good.
transformation of your mind. Romans 12, 1 through 2, like renewing your mind, offering your body as a living sacrifice
Yes.
daily. Just talking about that with my kids the other day, and like it's a constant. And when I hear renewing, and it's a constant decision. We're saved, right? But like it's a constant decision to go like, this is how I'm going to think and operate. This is how I'm going. It's a discipline
Mm.
to go like, and I think the perspective for me was, I've got another opportunity at life.
Mm,
I am so thankful that I have arms that can push a wheelchair. I'm so thankful that I have my voice. I'm so like, and at that point, like I'm just clinging to that hope. Um, and then understanding like, wow, I've got a new lease with this renewing of my mind, a new lease with the transformation in my heart. Um, and if this is like what God calls me to, And at that point, I'm not gonna lie, I'm like, I am praying for healing. I don't want to be in this
Sure.
wheelchair at all, like at all.
Yeah.
I am working and trying to get leg braces and standing and like trying with all my might and physical therapy and occupational therapy and like, can my hands work any better, please? Because I don't want to do, like, I don't want to do this.
Mm.
But also, like, life, like I can't just sulk. And I think for me, like, that was just the way God's made me, from my athletic background of like, I'm gonna grind this thing out and also have faith that God has a plan and a purpose. And I think the Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, as cliche as that verse is, like, I think at one point we had that verse somewhere in our bathroom at some point, like
Hmm.
when you're pooping and you're just like, trust the Lord with all your heart. Like, it's kind of a weird place to have it. We took it out of there after a while, but like, there's just like, it's on every coffee mug in a Christian house,
Sure.
along with, as for me in my house, will serve. Like, it's very
Yeah.
cliche, but there's truth in it.
That's right.
And anytime that I'm doubting, anytime that I'm worrying, anytime that I have anxiety, I'm either going to that place and like leaning not into my own understanding,
Hmm.
or I'm reading Psalms and I'm crying out, just
Yeah.
as the psalmist
Amazing.
or David did when there's crying out, having honest
Mm-hmm.
conversations with the Lord on like, this isn't fun.
Yeah.
This sucks. I don't want this. And there's moments in there in those first couple of years which are really, really dark and hard. I mean, you're talking like falling out of your wheelchair after a shower, no clothes on, and you're
Hmm.
laying there and you can't get up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like, like from 9 months ago, running on a football field, smashing into other dudes. It's like, talk about humility,
Yeah.
um, and a dependence for going like, I don't know where else to turn in this,
Mm-hmm.
because this is not something that man can just get over. Um, so
Mm.
Hmm.
I think about you knew my mom, and when she was 14 years old, she was hit by a drunk driver, and even later in life, she struggles to walk. She walks with a limp now. She's very grateful that she can walk, but she's struggles. She's got pain constantly in her body. Her pelvic was crushed. Her teeth were knocked out. She was the loser in school because, she was once kind of hung out with all the people and popular, and then her identity totally shifted because she looked different, she walked different, all these things, right?
Hmm.
Um, and yet God has like repurposed her life, right? The doctors told her you'll never have kids, and she's had 5 kids. The doctor said you'll never have kids naturally. She's had 5 kids naturally. I mean, like, the grace of God and
yeah,
the miracles that he's worked through, even the pain,
Yeah.
have been very evident in her story. And that's filtered down to just her kids' faith as well.
yeah, yeah,
I guess my question is, how did God now rewrite your story? Like, what does your new identity look like now?
yeah. It's interesting. So like, there's three lines to this that date back to, like, I guess, like with the Bible verse, and then I think with my calling as a speaker as well. Um, like, that was seventh grade. That was districts, seventh grade in Green Bay,
Mm,
or Kenosha, or wherever we were at that point. But I remember, like, God, like, calling, like, you are going to speak,
mm,
for the kingdom of God. And I'm just like, in seventh grade, I'm just like, what? Like, I'm just here to like hang out and chase
mhm,
middle school girls. Like, that's like, what? And like, and, and kind of put it in the back because I was like, God, like, I don't have a story. I'm living pretty in Wisconsin. I don't have a story to tell. It's nothing about, like, and I think after that accident happened, and kind of like picked my life back up again, that came back into it. I'm just like, I honestly wouldn't even know what to say besides like, hey, I broke my neck, love Jesus, and like, that's it, whatever. But there was some purpose, I think, ingrained in me. I'm like, I've made you uniquely,
mhm,
and that's a truth. I have a purpose for your life, and that's a truth. It looks a lot different than I thought it would look, and that's the truth. But like, I'm going to continue my life. So like, starting to make choices on, hey, I'm gonna go back to school. So like, went back to Winona State for a year. Really tough year because I'm figuring out my accident. I have an aide helping me went and said, "Hey, can I help out the football team at all? Like, I don't want to be like, the crippled mascot on the sidelines, but at the same time, like, can you help me out here?"
Mm-hmm.
And so I started helping them and doing some film and um, working in that role. And I realized that fall, back it was 2005, and I realized I've got this competitive fire in my belly still. Like, and had some close friends be like, "Dude, like, you probably should get in shape. You're getting big, and not a good way. And you should probably get in shape, dude." I mean, he was like, straight up, he was just like, "You're getting fat," is what he said. And so I was like, okay, well, that's nice of you. Um, but maybe I should start looking at some stuff. And so we ended up going on a Google search. I was in my dorm room in Winona State, Googling up wheelchair sports for my level 3. And some came up, and ended up seeing a video in wheelchair rugby, and there was a bunch of dudes in chairs smashing into each other, and I was like, that's literally the opposite of what I've been told I can do or can't do, and this looks really cool, so I need to go and check this out. And um, emailed a guy and said, "Hey, I want to come check out your practice." He's like, "Cool, we meet on Sunday nights, Wednesday nights." Awesome. We drive 2.5 hours to Golden Valley, Minnesota, just west of Minneapolis, and go into this little gym and start watching. And they're like, "You want to jump in a chair?" And I was like, "I can barely transfer into bed right now." Like, they're like, "We'll help you out." And so 45 minutes later, get all in this rugby chair and strapped in with my feet have straps, and my waist has a strap, and then my upper body has a strap, and then I've got gloves on and taped up, and I'm like, cool, all right, and start pushing up and down the court, um, and realize like, wow, I can still be an athlete.
Mm.
And I think like the faithfulness of who God is and who He makes us to be and calls us to be, um, it was an incredible moment for me to realize like I'm still me. I'm still Joe. It looks way different. The perspective is different, but like the gifts and the desires, God knows those, and tells us that we can, if we delight in Him, He'll give us the desires of our heart,
Come on.
right? And it was an incredible spot, like that practice, and going there helped me turn my life around more than any like medal or USA thing
Sure.
or any accomplishment like that. Being in an environment, with other people that were disabled that I can learn from and grow from. None of them were good athletes, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean like they weren't ever like Paralympians or like elite level athletes, but what they were was just independent. And I was just like, I want to come back. I want to learn how you're driving. I want to learn how you're able to get your chair in and out of your car by yourself, and your rugby chair in and out of your car by yourself, and go to the bathroom by yourself, and like transfer into your rugby chair. And I was just like, had all these questions for these guys. And I'm like, this is incredible. Um, and so that ended up clicking, and then ended up transferring up to Northwestern, formerly Northwestern College in St. Paul, um, to get a pastoral studies degree.
Joe, thank you so much for just your vulnerability and your willingness to step up and share the gospel and really to talk to people about identity, because we really have no excuse. And there's so many people that, and I hope this is not an offensive thing to say, but there's just so many people that have gone through so much less that it does paralyze them where they're at, and they can't move forward. And
Yeah.
you, being literally paralyzed, have said, no, it's not going to paralyze my life. It's going to push me forward, and I'm going to make something. You said that we don't always see or understand healing on this side of heaven. That God has a different plan that we don't understand. And you could have easily just said, man, I'm just gonna lay here and die. But no, you picked yourself up and you move forward. And so thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. It's such
Yeah.
an
Yeah,
inspiration.
that's so good.
Yeah.
And even, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but even to help wrap the story, today, I'm assuming right now you guys are in training and you're about to go into what, the
Yeah.
2026 Olympics, correct?
So 2026 are World Championships. We have those in less than 11 months.
Wow.
And then obviously the ramp up into LA 2028 Paralympics as a head coach. And it's it's a responsibility and a job I don't take lightly. I absolutely love it. I see that there's a lot of purpose in it. And I get to
Mm-hmm.
tell our athletes on the daily, like we're doing individual meetings right now. And the last question is like, what's your passion and purpose outside of rugby? Because the sport doesn't really matter. Like, yes, it's virtuous to go and pursue excellence and do it to the best of your ability. That's virtuous. But like, we need to be purposeful in our lives. And then talking to whether it's believers or non believers on my team is like, seek out what your purpose is, seek out what your passion is. Because when those two intersect, it's like, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest unlocks for me, and I've had this identity crisis a couple times, obviously the accident, probably the biggest one in my life, which caused maybe even more pain. And I don't say this lightly, but maybe even more pain was 2016 when I was cut from the Paralympic team. 7 years on the team. I was tunnel vision on gold, 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 back in that athlete mentality. I was a leader at the time and I thought I was leading the right way and was a captain and whatnot. And like, if we win gold, and so I was pursuing gold for my identity.
Man.
If we win gold, I'm going to be validated I took it to the husband level, to the
Wow.
dad level, to the speaker level, to an athlete and leadership level. I'm going and seeking out gold for my identity. And after I retired, and honestly, in the next quad leading up to Tokyo, which were my last games, and in these last 4 years, going to my fifth season coaching, is I've realized, and it's been an unlock for me, because it's something that I've always wrestled with, and I realize like a lot of men wrestle with their identity, wrestle with what the identity looks like, and because we don't men don't talk enough, we don't share enough, we care
So
more
true.
about sharing our fantasy football numbers and how the Packers or Vikings are doing versus sharing our hearts and sharpening our swords in a beautiful way. So we can go and lead our homes. And the unlock is we're not doing like you can go and pursue things. There's nothing wrong with that. Go and pursue things and chase after dreams and goals and desires and everything. But understand that it's not for our identity we're doing those things. It's from our identity we're doing those things. And as Christians and as believers, we understand that we're doing that from who Christ calls us to be,
Wow.
from our identity. You can go pursue it, and it's a lot easier to not get wrestled into the identity tangle and chaos and illusion.
Yeah.
For identity, there's going to be an illusion, and I've wrestled with that, and I've been there, and I think helping men unlock that can make us better in the home first and foremost, and better in the marketplace.
Well, I'm just going to say, from my perspective, I'm so thankful for you constantly sharing your story.
Yes.
For those listening, Joe's story is way deeper than the 45 minutes that we got to spend with him. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And if people want to follow your journey, like where can they go to stay connected with you and what God's doing in your life?
Yeah. Instagram, LinkedIn, where I'm most active, need to be more active.
Yeah.
Not a strong suit. And then, but I have a website as well, joedelagrave.com.
Great.
Always open to speaking opportunities as well.
Yeah.
And no, appreciate letting me share that.
Joe, thank you so much for telling your story and just really reminding us that even when we lose what we thought defined us, God rewrites those things. God can make our story so much more beautiful than we could have ever imagined.
Yeah, it's also just a great reminder. Joe, thank you for reminding us that our identity is not in what we do, but our identity is found in Christ. And what a blessing it was that when you were 19 in that hospital, you chose to put your identity in Christ. And that has inspired me. And I know it's going to inspire so many others.
And we look forward to watching your journey and following Team USA as you guys go to the Olympics. We'll be rooting you on. Thank you again to our listeners, and just pray a blessing over you. What a great conversation today.
Yes, and we want to just thank our sponsors again, Don Bushnell Ministries.
Yes,
thank you for what you do. And so you can find them on donbushnellministries.org, and man, check them out, see what they're doing, bless them financially if you feel led.
If today's episode encouraged you, share it with your friends, and let's keep pointing people back to Jesus.
He's the one thing.
Come on.